Welcome back to SportSense, the show where I beg my dad to take me back as his son, even though I don't watch sports anymore. Let's get into it.
It's time to get some SportSense. You're gonna get some SportSense. You better get ready for SportSense. SportSense.
Hey, Coop.
Hey, Dad. How's it going?
It's going really well. I always look forward to Monday night. Get to talk to you.
Yeah, hey, and that's a good point, too, that we are trying to make this a regular thing Monday night so we can release every Tuesday morning for you guys. So, and hey, there's a secret voice lurking here in the shadows. My brother, Keaton. You want to reveal yourself?
I'm happy to be on, and I don't know if it's too much a secret voice because I think we sound a lot alike, is from what I hear, unfortunately.
Big reason you're here tonight is not only because are you a great hang, but
A great what?
I say he's a great hang. You never heard that?
Like to hang out with them?
Yeah, you're a great hang.
All right.
But you're also a seasoned football coach yourself, not only at the your own children level, but you've taught actual college football teams, which is pretty cool.
Did you say taught?
He did. I was going to.
Did I say taught?
First of all, he's a player. He can tell you he was a player for many, many more years.
For sure.
But he didn't. I don't think he taught.
Well,
anyway.
there's surely some
This is
teaching
why we're
going
doing.
on.
Sure, I'm going to let Keaton take it from here, but this is why we're doing this podcast.
There is teaching in sports, but yeah, it's called coaching. And I don't know what the line is between coaching and teaching, but they are. You need to be a good teacher to be a good coach. So there is a correlation there.
I did mean to say coaching. It was just a Freudian slip, I suppose. Well, so glad to have you both here. I'm ready to just drink from the fire hose with you guys.
We're ready.
Let's jump in. Oh, what did I miss this weekend? Because I didn't watch a single game. I can tell you that.
About anything. I know. Remember what we talked about? I'll jump in, Keith, real quick on one item to take care of, and then you can add your 2 cents worth on it. We're going to recap real quick the World Series. Remember how last week we were talking while they were playing? Remember that? We were watching the runs pile up. Anyway.
During the last episode, you were calling that New York was going to win and try to get back in the race.
So they did win. They won that game. And then the next game, Yankees got up again, but then the Dodgers came back. I mean, the Yankees were up 5-0. And then they had like one of the worst innings of all time in a World Series. And anyway, bottom line, Dodgers won it in 5 games, 4-1. And it was not even a real contest. And who I told you I knew was going to win the MVP, he did win it, Freddie Freeman. So
awesome.
I know you didn't catch any of that. And your sister, I told you got to get her on here because she said was there an important baseball game this week? And I said, you need to get on here with me and Coop. So, Keith, you got anything on the World Series?
No, it was just short, little add in there that it had all the makings of a great World Series, and it just did not pan out to be. But I love Freddie Freeman too, and I think America does. And I think even his manager just said, basically wish he could have his whole dugout filled with Freddie Freeman's, and he almost went as far as saying he's my favorite player, and I wish everybody else was like him. And so he's just such a heart of gold player, works hard, great character, great dugout guy. And so it was and as a great Braves fan, it was so sweet to see him win. And it was fun to see his home run streak, I think Dad talked about in the last episode. And then that was snapped, but he had a very timely, crazy important 2-run single that he drove in. And I just think to me, it was almost all about Freddie Freeman since it didn't shape up to be a great series. It was great to see him do so well.
Not to mention, he's got a very patriotic name.
Freeman,
don't you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
What Keaton alluded to, too, he's such a great family guy. I mean, it's nice to see. We watch these athletes, college, pro, even high school, and I appreciate their talent, but some of them, I'm old school for sure, as we've discussed. But it is so good to see, and it just warms my heart to see someone with such humility and kindness and gentleness and goodness who could still basically dominate a World Series. And that was with an injured ankle. I mean, so I just love how he comports himself, the way he lives his life. And he's what a great example. I want the kids to see him as their example, not some of these other folks that players and athletes who have such.
Knuckleheads.
Yeah. I'm trying to be nice, Keith. Yeah, the knuckleheads, the antics. Anyway, so I just think that I want to emphasize that one more time. What an amazing guy he is. Man, well beyond baseball.
Well, you're setting this up to be a really hilarious scandal reveal once something comes out about him. Our episode's going to age really poorly.
This is where your mind goes. Oh my gosh!
I'm just kidding. I'm just look. It would be funny after how you got. I've never heard a man so praised by you two. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just have to become a Freddie Freeman fan.
There you go.
Okay. Well, great. Well, hey, World Series. Good job, Dodgers. Good job, Freddie Freeman. I'm not going to be able to get Freeman out of my head now. All right, what else did I miss, you guys?
Real quick, we talked about this, and Keaton definitely might have some more input on this. Do you remember the only game we really picked, what I called the biggest game of the week, was Ohio State playing at Penn State? You remember that? Number 4 team going against number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah. The Ohio State.
The Ohio State. And Penn State was undefeated. Ohio State had one. Now, let's see what you retained from last week.
I remember they had one loss. Yeah, one loss, but it was to a kind of a funky team, right? Texas A&M? No.
Funky?
Oregon.
There you go.
Oregon. Yeah.
And by how much? How much did they lose by?
Oh, was that?
All right, it was 1 point.
Clobbered?
No, it was by 1 point. That was the whole point. Oh, man.
Okay.
You missed my whole message. But my whole message was, so it's only, in other words, that loss. Remember, we talked about what some good losses are and bad losses when the college football committee comes out.
We talked about strength of schedule.
Right. Yeah. There you go. So anyway, that was a good loss for them. So anyway, just to cover quickly, it really was not an exciting game. I like defense, so I think it had a lot of defense. But Ohio State went to Penn State and beat them 20-13. That's a big deal. So both of them 7-1, and now Ohio State's 3rd, and Penn State dropped to 6th in the country. But it was a good battle in that sense. But Penn State just really didn't live up to their billing. And here's the killer part: Ohio State has beaten Penn State 8 seasons in a row.
Oh, that is crazy.
8 games in 8 seasons in a row.
So
anyway,
are they a rivalry usually, or lately anyway?
Ohio State, Michigan's the biggest in that group with Ohio State. But Ohio State, Penn State's a very important in the conference, important for national rankings. And anyway, that's the scoop. That was the game you and I featured a little bit last week.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember because they were ranked 3 and 4, and you were saying it should be a really fun competitive game, but sounds like kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they lost by a touchdown. Penn State did, and it was a kind of an old school knock 'em out, or knock 'em down, drag out game. Lots of running. I'm pretty sure that neither had over 200 yards passing, which is not something you see often in the college world, especially nowadays. And teams really like to air it out for the most part, and especially those two teams are high octane offenses usually, depending who they're playing. But they ran the ball against each other, tough defense, like Dad said. And so it depends on your level of fandom if it was exciting or not.
So college teams usually pass it like a hot potato.
Some. It's become more and more of that. And there's some good old teams like Michigan last year was a ground and pound team, and there's still some teams out there like that, and a lot of Midwestern teams that are farm boys that have big old offensive linemen that they run behind Wisconsin. But there's a lot of high power, throw the ball all over the place type of teams.
All right. Well, I got to ask about a little bit of lingo. You and Dad like to throw some lingo that sounds pretty, frankly, like innuendo-y a lot of times to me in sports.
See, I don't even know where, your mind goes to the wrong place. But I'm glad you caught it because you can add it to your.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to call it lingo-lango. So it's time for a little bit of lingo-lango. Ground and pound. Very interesting phraseology, but I suppose it means something interesting. So what does that mean in the football context?
And so it means that you're running the ball instead of airing it out. That means the ball's in the air. The ball never leaves the ground. It goes from one hand to another, and that's the ground part.
The running backs.
Yeah. So you give it to the running back, or just often the running back, and then the pound part are the offensive linemen. They love to run block. Good old traditional offensive linemen, if you ever ask them what play they want to run, it's usually power, which is just like a knockout running play where they get to go smack people. And so when they pass, they kick step back and they take on contact, and they have to hold up under contact. When they run, they get to go after people and go downhill. So ground and pound, they're pounding the defensive linemen of the linebackers back, and then the ground part is running.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. Sounds like a Bowser move in Mario or something.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that. Cool.
There's one quick college game I want to talk about because it had playoff implications, and it was a surprise and a pretty big upset. Was South Carolina was 4-3, and they're the SEC, and that's the powerhouse conference of college football. And several teams can get into the college football playoff from the SEC and are expected to. Texas A&M was 7-1, and South Carolina was 4-3. Wasn't expected to do much. I mean, anything can happen in the SEC. It's almost like the NFL. You never know. But they just it wasn't. They got out by the skin of their teeth. The South Carolina, they took Texas A&M to the woodshed and really handed it to them. And if you go and look at the yards and the first downs and everything, they dominated the game from start to finish, and they won handedly. I can't even remember by how many points. So that was a big surprise, and maybe knocked Texas A&M out of the college football playoff.
Oh, that's a shame because Dan and I, we talked about how they had beat, who was the big
LSU. LSU.
They had a great win, in that game. Yep, and then some more lingo for you is a trap game. This might have been a trap game. Is when you think you're going to easily get by a team, or maybe as long as you go out and do what you're supposed to, or just play fundamental ball, you won't face much of a challenge. And so you let down your guard a little bit. And this might have been seen as a little bit of a trap game, but they just smoked them. That was the surprising part. South Carolina took it to them.
Okay. Well, pride cometh before the fall. Okay.
So you want me to recap real quick the one NFL game, then we can get on?
Yeah, what happened?
Because we had it on our list. Do you remember the game? Did you make notes? Anything?
Yes, I do.
Write it on your hand or anything. Detroit.
No, I got it. Green Bay.
There you go.
And because I actually saw a little bit of it.
You were at your father-in-law's house, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it. All right. But real quick, especially if you hear the pundits and all the guys on the sports shows this week, starting today, there's several of them are claimed Detroit is now the best team in football. But for sure, now that's even a couple went over Kansas City. But for sure, the best team in the NFC. So just wanted to remind you, that was a good win. They're 7-1. They're now leading their conference. They just look so good, and they can win. Here's the big thing. They always talk about they're wondering how well their quarterback Goff plays when he's not indoors. 12 or 13 of his games, 17 this year, we talked about were indoors in stadiums. But this one was at Green Bay in a cold rain. It was a very sloppy game. And Detroit still absolutely handled their business. And so did Goff. He played a good, solid game. Very, very few mistakes. And they just, that's tough to win at Lambeau Field and the Packers. So he did it. And there's even a few people talking Jared Goff MVP, even though there's a few ahead of him.
He got bit by a radioactive spider and his grip got a lot better or something?
No, he's just been steady. He's been good.
The Lions are kind of like America's sweetheart right now, too. Almost like Freddie Freeman, Cooper. They're just beloved by most because they've been so terrible for so long. And you fall in love with the coach. His very first press conference, he got up there and said, "We're going to bite people's kneecaps off. Like, we're going to get knocked down, and on our way up, we'll bite a kneecap off." And he's just eat a bucket of nails for breakfast type of guy, and played in the NFL and did the dirty work, and that was part of it. And everyone thought he was just a psychopath, but now they've come to love him and know he's a really good coach. And one really good stat that I heard, that's an incredible stat, is that Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's the wide receiver for the Lions, 30 straight completions to him. And so when he's targeted. So a lot of times you get targets. So say a guy gets 10 targets in a game, that means the ball was thrown his way 10 times, intended for him. And usually a good clip is he caught 6 or 7 of them, maybe 70%. So 30 straight targets 30 straight completions for Amon-Ra. So it's a really dangerous duo that's going on. An incredible stat. I don't know if there's ever.
I said that's got to be a record, right?
It's got to be. Yeah.
I heard him talking about today, and I know I've never heard that in my lifetime.
And I love the line story too. Like you mentioned, Cooper, Jared Goff was basically a throwaway. They were tired of him. They didn't really believe in him anymore from the Rams, and so they traded him to the Lions. And the Lions quarterback went to the Rams, and he won a Super Bowl. And everybody thought they got the deal of the century. And the Rams quarterback's great, Matthew Stafford. But Jared Goff has really come into his own the last couple of years around great coaching and other great players.
And he's a lot younger, and he can go a lot longer if he stays healthy.
Cool. Okay. You're making a Detroit fan out of me.
Well, when you're a Panthers fan first, you got to find someone else to kind of enjoy the beauty of the game.
Right. Well, that's fair.
Even though we do want to get it on tape here. Panthers won this weekend, but that's all we'll say about it.
Oh, okay.
We're grateful.
It's almost a moral loss because we want to be. We already know we're so bad. We want to be the worst, so we get the best pick next year. So we're fighting a bunch of other teams to be the worst team, and we want to be the worst because we know we're not going to be good or have any chance at the playoffs.
So yeah, why wouldn't you just throw every game if that's honestly the goal?
You just. Every man's got to play for himself. He's a professional too, right? They got to play for their jobs and things like that.
And the coach is coaching for his job.
He is, so they got to do it. They won by one point, so it was quite a squeaker. But anyway, the only game this week, we always pick a game to look at.
I was just about to say, if we're done with the recap, I say let's head into what are we looking forward to this week?
Well, I know, and what I told you, I'm going to lead off with. I don't have anything huge. We might have from our special guest say a lot about it, but NCAA basketball starts, men and women's, this week. They're playing tonight. Like Keaton said before we got on here, NC State's playing. That's our home team. And then, of course, we pull for BYU. But here's 2 words for you, Cooper. 2 words. It's two names, but it's one person.
Okay.
Don't forget it. You're going to always remember his first name. Cooper.
Oh.
His first name's Cooper. His second name is Flag, another patriotic name for you. Cooper Flag.
This is turned into a great election week episode.
It
I love
is.
It. Yeah, very
He's
patriotic.
17 years old, and he's playing at Duke.
Okay.
They say
we don't love that, but yeah.
Well, but hey, ACC, it's 30 miles from us. I like that. I'm excited about that.
Okay.
If we can't have an NC State, we'll take them. But anyway, that's just keep that name and to kind of pay attention to what goes on this year. The potential, again, he's 17 and he's been dominating. I mean, he has potential to dominate, but he also has the potential to be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA next year after only 1 year, and he's 17 right now.
Whoa.
So Cooper Flag, you think you remember that name? Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be worth talking about, listen to, all the things you like to do. You said, now this is a big deal. But other than that, I say, hey, it's just letting you know it's kicking off. Big thing this year is Yukon. I mean, we got the rankings, preseason rankings. Yukon won the last 2. They have won the last 2 back-to-back NCAA men's champion. And their coach had a chance to go Coach Hurley had a chance to go to Los Angeles Lakers, be their head coach. Turned it down because he said he really wanted to go for a 3-peat, go for a 3 in a row.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just a heads up. We don't have all night for sure, but that's to let you know what's heating up and warming up and where we're heading.
We'll start hearing about college basketball. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we skip straight to the one that I actually know about? Or is there anything else to talk about?
Absolutely. No, I've got a couple things.
Okay.
The only thing, I forgot one thing. Everybody go look up. You got to go look this up. Keaton will know what I'm talking about. And I'm sorry I missed it on my recap. Saquon Barkley, you got to go look for his run. Did you hear about that, Coop?
Even I saw that. Yeah, and actually, thanks to the mailbag, my brother-in-law Brody sent in a video of that, how he did his 180 jump over a guy.
Well, so he did a spin move on the first guy, got free, and then started spinning again and jumped over him backwards.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I don't believe that's ever been done.
It was incredible. He spread his legs right at the perfect time to evade the tackler, and the tackler went right underneath him. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got him on your fantasy team. You're welcome.
So yes, I was just about to say that too, and he got me a ton of points. And
You got a bunch of dummies in your league. I can't remember when he was open, but we got him. That was a steal.
Some of the people in my league might listen to this episode. So sorry, guys, you should have picked Saquon Barkley.
Oh
So,
yeah.
thanks for leaving him for me. But now it's out that you helped pick my team, or I guess you picked. I'll confess, you picked my team.
You didn't tell me that. I did not know that. You've been bragging on your team each week.
I handpicked the whole team.
Oh my gosh, Coop!
I sat in the room and cheered him on. And Keaton did teach me a little bit along the way about a couple people. I have handled my waiver wire, and I've been switching people on and off the bench as needed. I've been doing a little bit of work.
Nice.
Okay, well, hey, let me introduce, since I actually know something this week here in Utah, and I think nationally it's going to be one of the most the games a lot of the country's excited about, right? Is the holy war of BYU versus University of Utah. So that's like. I mean, that's one I'll probably even watch this weekend. So yeah, we'll start with Keaton. What do you predict happening there?
Well, we talked about it before, and this is what I think all BYU fans fear and are just approaching this game with a lot of trepidation. This is the ultimate trap game, and I mentioned that lingo before, and this sets up very well for that. And I think BYU is aware of that, and hopefully they don't feel that pressure. But almost every year, Utah's in the top 10 or top 15 in the country, and this is a very down year for them. And they're, I think, 4-4. I can't remember their record.
That's right.
It's not impressive. And I was looking over this weekend, and preparation for the game coming up. I was just looking. They've had a down year offensively. They missed their 18th year returning quarterback, Cam Rising. I don't know how old he is. He's like 30, but he's been playing in college forever because of COVID and red shirts and all this stuff, this, that, and the other.
Medical.
But he's really good. He's probably not going to be an NFL quarterback, so he's probably doing the right thing and just staying in college as long as he can. But he's been a great college quarterback, and they missed him. And Zach Wilson's little brother, Isaac Wilson, is the starting quarterback for University of Utah, and he's done okay. But you go and look at their points average per game, and Utah's, I think, in the low 20s, and BYU's in the mid 30s. But what scares me is Utah's yardage per game is not far off from what BYU's is. And so what that means is that they're having untimely mistakes or just can't quite cap off drives, Utah. I don't think they're that far away from being a pretty dang good team, even though they don't look the part this year. And or they might not seem like it on the national level, where they're usually 7-1 at this point or 8-0 at this point. They're 4-4. So,
but they're still a capable football team that can
beat
BYU.
Yeah, to Keaton's point, I read on this the 4 losses. They won their first 4 games, lost the last 4 in a row, but each one was 7 points or under, and they were right there in almost on all 4 of the games. And I think a lot of Keaton will know, like he mentioned about the quarterback. It's been the quarterback and just haven't been in the groove offensively, but they are scary to me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like we all have bad days, and they've just had a string of bad days, kind of.
But what I do love and what gives me hope is BYU's run game is so potent.
Right.
And they have 2 running backs that are great this year, that are big backs, and we talked about the ground and pound. They can do that. And if you can do that, you can control a game. Utah historically has had such great defensive fronts. I don't know how they are this year. I'm imagining pretty good. They're usually filled with Polynesians, and BYU's got their fair share of Polynesians, but Utah usually seems to have just an incredible force up there up front that stops our run game and makes us one-dimensional in passing. But we have ran the ball so well. If we can do that and control the pace of the game, and I think BYU should win, and they have to capitalize on their drives and can't make big mistakes. And their defense has given up quite a bit this year. That's the other thing that scares me. BYU, they haven't given up many points, but they've given up some good yardage some games, and they've been more of a bend or break team. They've had interceptions or fumbles in the red zone, and been able to stop teams from scoring, but they have given up yards. So So much has gone right. The ball has rolled the right way for BYU this year, and so much has rolled the wrong way for Utah. You're hoping this isn't the game where it finally breaks through for Utah.
Right.
Coop, I got a couple of what do we call these? We said I call them tidbits. What do we decide the name of them?
I, as far as Instagram goes, we're calling them fatherly morsels of knowledge. Let's hear what you got.
So a couple things. We haven't played, Utah BYU hasn't played since 2021. This has been the longest streak since, because we always played every year. There's two things here. That's the longest streak since 1942 to 46 during World War II. Fascinating. So that's how we always played every year up to basically 2021. Prior to that, by the way, BYU won 2021. Prior to that, BYU had lost 9 games in a row. Utah didn't even, they act like we were, fans. They didn't even say we were a rival anymore because they were beating us so bad while they were in the Pac. The Pac-12 they grew to in their new conference. But just those two things I thought were fascinating. The last two things are the two coaches, right? Each one of them in some way owe each other something. And it's fascinating. Kyle Whittingham was a great player for BYU, right? And Coach Satake was a coach for University of Utah who was hired by Coach Whittingham. So this is all interrelated. And through that all, they're both trying to talk the love language this week. All love, especially Satake. That love and respect because the fans have misbehaved so badly in years past. So the question is, has the vitriol between the two fan bases cooled down? And I read some things from Deseret News today from the sports writers, and they're saying it's cooled down a little bit, but just give it one cheap shot by one player on one team, and it's going to explode again. So we're looking for an exciting time, and it's going to be at the University of Utah, Eccles Stadium, and so those fans are going to be brutal on BYU. So I can't wait, and I'm excited. It's going to be on very late our time, so we'll have to figure that out. But anyway, so that's you're right. You brought up what we think is about the biggest college game there is this week.
Totally. Well, I'm sure, knowing you guys, I'm sure you'll stay up at however late. I'm sure you'll stay up into the next day if you have to watch that game. But fun fact from me on my end is I work at the ad agency that's been doing. We were asked to do the campaign. They wanted to do an ad campaign this year to tell the fans to love your enemy, basically, and be nice to each other no matter what happens. And the presidents of each school. Did you see that video where the president
I hadn't
of BYU,
seen it. That's so cool.
Yeah, president of University of Utah came together and did a little banter and back and forth to basically say their tagline is "Rival Right" this year. So, and as part of that, they're actually restoring an old tradition of they used to do a competing food kitchen night where basically which fan base could donate more or serve more at their local food bank. And so they're bringing back that tradition, which I think is a really nice, wholesome rivalry type thing. So
that's awesome.
So there's the Holy War. And thanks, guys, for the recap, for the what's to come. And Keaton, if you want to stick around, it's time for Pop's Quiz. So this is where I'm going to give Dad, I think, a fairly challenging trivia question. And since we talk so much about football, of course, we're going to keep it in the football theme. Keaton,
if I had the phone a friend, and we can call Keaton since he's right here.
we'll do a phone. I had a question for Keaton too, but we'll let him be your phone a friend as well. This is an interesting one, but you were in your prime at this point, so I think you watched this game.
I was in my prime. What the heck?
As a young father, you were at 1991. I hadn't been born quite yet. Keaton was just born.
Yeah, so things were a lot smoother. You hadn't arrived yet. Okay, got it.
Okay, so. Which team beat the Buffalo Bills 20-19 in Super Bowl? What's these Roman numerals? 25.
Oh gosh. No, it's probably 91.
XXV? 25, yeah.
Yeah.
In 1991, the first Super Bowl decided by 1 point.
Oh, see, the Buffalo Bills lost 4 in a row. Their quarterback was Jim Kelly. I'm trying to think who beat them on that one in 91. Oh my gosh, I might miss this one.
I guess it was a big deal. I didn't know it was the only one or first one decided by 1 point.
For 1 point, yeah. But that's because he missed a field goal. They missed a field goal at the end. They easily could have won. Oh gosh.
So it's going to be an NFC team, right? So the Bills are in the AFC, so that eliminates half of them.
Let's see.
I watched the Four Falls of. There's a 30 for 30, Cooper. Do you know? Yeah, the Four Falls of Buffalo recently, so I should know this. And their field goal kicker missed it. And
I mean, I can see it. I'm just trying to remember who it was there. That's why I am getting old.
I think it was the Giants.
All right, we'll go with his Giants.
All right, your friend helped you out as the New York Giants.
Woo!
Good job. Glad you watched that recently.
It was,
I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't the Cowboys because I knew the last time they had won there. So it's been a long, long time. So Giants. That's good. Thanks, Keith.
New York Giants.
I almost was going to go Redskins because they had been tough during that stretch. They had one of those wins.
Well,
right.
you
Thanks,
still
Keith.
proved that you had a wealth of knowledge surrounding that time. So good job. Keaton, do you want one or should we?
I want one.
You did help with that one. All right, Keaton.
I might get to help him. You never know.
So which team played the Kansas City Chiefs in the first NFL game where both teams scored at least 50 points?
Oh my gosh. For both teams, I mean, with both teams scoring 50, I would guess it might be semi-recently, and I was thinking the Bills with the Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
So it's either the Bills or Keaton, the Bengals. Do you remember what they're?
Oh, where they went back and forth and had overtime.
They did.
Yeah. And sheesh. Yeah, it has to be recent. And those two. Yeah. And those two have had a great rivalry. So it gave us one of the teams, the Chiefs.
So we're gonna have a little fun. Is it we got two, or we do have one of the two right?
No, you don't.
Oh,
we don't have either.
Okay, well, we're way off then.
Is this the Lenny Dawson area back in the 70s?
No, I believe you're right. I think it is a pretty recent game.
It's got to be.
Well, you ready for the answer? You give up yet?
Well,
okay.
I mean, we already got it wrong, but
we already blew it.
I would think Rams would be up there.
Now you hit it. It's the Los Angeles Rams.
The Rams, okay, yeah. Sean McVay probably led team.
Yeah.
That is recent, right? Because they haven't always been Los Angeles Rams,
right?
Well, they were originally when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
But that kind of scoring, I can promise you, was recently.
Okay, stumped you both a little bit today, but you guys are still. I still feel like you're pretty smart. So there you go.
Yeah, we took a ding. It took a ding tonight, but all right.
That's okay.
That's better than the trampoline question. So thank you.
That was crazy. Yeah, at least we kept it relevant tonight. Okay, well, really quick, I have two mailbag questions for you.
Okay.
Either of you can field this question if you want. Pun intended, because the first question is from Lexi, and she says, "What are the rules for pinch hitters in the MLB? How do you constitute who runs and who does not?" I don't even know what she's talking about.
Well, she's really brought up two things. So go ahead, Keith, if you want to start.
Well, yeah, there's a pinch hitter,
or pinch runners. I mean,
pinch runner. Yeah,
she said pinch runner.
Okay, pinch runner. So there's a pinch runner. So say there's some baseball players come in all shapes and sizes for sure. There's some, a lot bigger guys that are DHs, designated hitters, that all they do is hit, but they can't run, they can't field very well, but they can hit and they get on base. And what should be a triple, they end up with a single with, or double sometimes, and they get on, and they'll have, if they're close to scoring position or they're in need of a score, they might get a more athletic guy out there, but then he has to go sub for them in the field, it's a designated.
Well, that's
hitter.
That's what I'm looking at. So it says right here, it says each inning, team can utilize a player who is not in the batting order as a special pinch runner, like we talked about. For any offensive player, a player may only be removed for a special pinch runner one time during the game.
Okay.
The player for whom the pinch runner runs is not subject to removal from the lineup. That's the part I told you. I think
that must be pretty new.
Yeah, that had changed. So I think it's kind of when they made that change for the DH on both sides of the of MLB. I think they made a similar change. So
you can keep the DH in there. Probably is when they're going to use it the most.
But they can only pinch run him once.
Yeah,
any player, they can only pinch them one time in a game.
Interesting. Well, we've gone on long enough. I won't ask more about that, but that was a pretty advanced question. So that one's for you, Lexi. so she gets to.
And by the way, they have the list. MLB has you have to list that pinch runner. They have to be listed on the on their scorecard when they list the players in the game.
Okay, cool.
Just a little FYI.
Well, hey, while we're on baseball, I got one more question. This is from Chris. He simply says, "Would you rather have current Shohei Ohtani or steroided Barry Bonds?"
Well, there's no question in my mind. It's Shohei Ohtani because he can pitch as one of the best pitchers in baseball and one of the greatest hitters and one of the greatest base stealers. So he's got 3-1 against Bonds.
I think, but the question said current, and Shohei's not pitching right now.
No, but he'll be back next year.
Yeah, I grew up with an affinity for steroided Barry Bonds. His head was so big, and he was such a great hitter, and he was still a great hitter before his power dominant days, he could run the bases really well and was a great outfielder, and he was such a pure good player until he really got and he jacked up, but then he
started juicing.
Man, they could not. I remember watching his home run, 73 home runs in a year, and they just could not pitch around him. They couldn't do it. They either walked him or it seemed like he hit a home run.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with that question, Coop, I got to give you my quick side note. So I was in Chicago at a meeting, and we got to go see the Cubs versus the Giants. Who did he play for? The Giants, right, at the time? Who was he playing? Barry Bonds, right?
The Giants forever, yeah. The Pirates
So those Bond. It was anyway. It was during their big battle that one year. I got to go see them live, and they both each hit 1 or 2 home runs that night at Chicago Cubs.
Cool.
That was pretty cool.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I love hearing about your sports memories. I can't believe some of the places you've been to, games you've seen.
That was fun. So Keaton and I might have split there a little bit, but that's where we stand.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Bonds is one of the few athlete names that I still remember because, he was such a force back when I was a kid that even I knew who he was.
Well, I love his father. His father was his endurance. They both played together. That's how long his father played in the major leagues. So
it's like LeBron and his kid.
Yeah, but
the Griffies, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I just can't.
So King Griffey Jr., the King Griffey Sr. to the Junior actually played in MLB?
Absolutely. All the way. I mean, absolutely.
That's the difference with, I think, what Dad was going to say with LeBron and Bronny is that Ken Griffey Jr. was superior to his dad. It ended up being. He was such a great talent, incredible talent. There was no nepotism there. He was the apple of everybody's eye. They wanted him badly. And then same with Barry and to Bobby. Barry was, and they both deserved 100% where they ended up, and there was no question about it. And that's different with the Bronny LeBron situation.
Sounds like you're subtly hinting that there's some nepotism going on with the Jameses.
You thought that was
strong amount.
You thought that was subtle?
I had heard about it, but I didn't know if he was actually any good or not. I haven't looked into that one yet. But we shall see,
I guess.
Yeah. There you go, Jinx. Well, thank you guys so much. We got to wrap this up, but you two are great. Thanks for taking the time to educate little old me.
That was great. See you, Coop.
Thank you.
Sayonara. Bye.
SportSense.